podcast with Chris Piak. No pretense, no bullshit. Just Chris and an employer talking about a real-life business problem. Offer a solution and get a job. And here is your host, Chris Piak.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Chris Piak. Today we take off. I take you to a company, a startup in the south of Germany near Munich called Lilium. And Lilium might be the hottest company in the eVTOL market. And if you are excited about clean energy, about zero emission transportation, and about flying taxis that take you from one city to the other and that cut your travel time to a fifth of what it usually would be, then you should listen to my interview today, because we're talking about job opportunities at Lilium with Dube Pender, Head of Propulsion System Assembly at Lilium. Dube, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Dube, tell us a little bit about what Lilium does and what makes Lilium so special.
So Lilium is an electric vertical takeoff and landing air taxi company, which, as you might know, is a new field, a new market that's coming to the world, but is not yet in operation. So what we are doing is attempting to bring this new product to the market and help the world for the first time. So we are based in Munich, Germany, but we have offices in the US and the UK as well, and soon they will be spreading globally. The air taxi company's vision is to bring clean, quiet, affordable, safe transportation to the general population of the world, with goals of reducing urbanization and allowing people to fly in places they've not been able to fly before because of environmental and sound restrictions.
Mm-hmm. How do I have to imagine this? Is it like an air taxi where basically do I use it like a normal taxi to fly to different locations inside the city? Or is it for travels that are longer distance, like our people who commute to work or who usually would take the bus to go somewhere? So
our range currently is 250 kilometers. So we will be think of like a trip of an hour or less would be the routes that Lilium taxis would do. And they would be scheduled routes, much like a bus or a train, so that you could catch them on a schedule like you would that way. Imagine if you were taking a flight to JFK from Manhattan, and you know how long that would take in a car or on a train with the crazy schedules. But in an air taxi, you could probably be there in 15 or 20 minutes and for similar cost. So think of it for small trips, but that could be interconnecting eventually and help you get long distances in a much shorter time.
Mm-hmm. So it saves you a lot of lifetime that you otherwise just waste away.
Exactly. And at the same time, it will help to get cars off the road to help reduce the traffic in urban areas and help people live on the outskirts of cities to be able to go to their jobs rather than having to live, right downtown, which will also help reduce urbanization.
Mm-hmm. So now, full transparency, I've been following Lilium for several years already, and I'm a great fan, as regular listeners of the show know, because we interviewed people from Lilium several times already. And the company achieved a really great milestone now, and that is that you are currently in the process of getting listed at the stock exchange, which also will fund the company basically until you start production of the jet and go to market. Yes. Which means that Lilium is growing very fast and that you have to hire a lot of people. Can you give us an idea what kind of people is Lilium looking for? First, when it comes to attitude, and then also, of course, which kind of professions you are looking for the most?
Okay. So with attitude, what we're looking for is open-minded, diverse, inclusive people. So currently we're a team of over 800 people, and they come from all over the world, varying backgrounds, varying ethnicities. And we want to continue to build an environment where our differences are celebrated and we are able to show unique personalities in a positive way. Also, we want people that are showing those different personalities to be able to work between each other and comfortably enjoy other people's differences. we also want people that are willing to make decisions. In our business, we don't have the luxury of doing all the research for every decision. We need to take risks and be willing to jump in head first. We're looking for people that are comfortable doing that and taking those risks.
Mm-hmm.
The
Okay.
backgrounds that we are supporting are mainly aviation and automotive, though there are places in certain professions that's not necessary. Procurement, for example, if you have a procurement background, it might be applicable that it was in any industry rather than just automotive or aviation. But when it comes to technical roles, aviation and automotive are our top couple that we look to.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned already you are a very international team. Does this mean that you work at Lilium in English, or is German the main language?
The main language at Lilium is English. There are occasions where you'll have a meeting where if everyone that happens to be in that meeting is German, they might switch over. But 100% of the time that I've been here, I've been speaking English. It is our main language. Lilium's really good about helping expats come in, though, and learn German so that they're more comfortable in their everyday lives. And they offer language courses, and they teach them here on site as well.
Mm-hmm. Your boss, Daniel Wiegand, made it pretty clear in a lot of presentations that you are looking for like the best people you can find, the people with an entrepreneurial spirit and also the knowledge and experience in their specific profession. And that means that you hire basically all over the world. Tell us a little bit about your own story, how you came to work with Lilium and how supportive Lilium was in actually getting you to Germany. Because you are, I think I can say you are from the United States, so you also needed a visa to come working at Lilium. And apparently the company is willing to take people who are non-EU citizens.
Yes, they have been very willing to do that. And we do have a team from all over the world, not just the EU. So for myself, I'm an American, came from the Northeast United States. The last few years, I've been working in Asia, primarily in Taiwan and South Korea, working with the aviation industry, solving delivery problems for General Electric. I'd worked for General Electric for 12 years before coming to Lilium. And when the pandemic hit, I found myself in a position of no longer having a home in the United States because I was traveling for business all of the time and kind of reevaluating as my role changed. Our planes were grounded. We were stuck in the United States, not able to travel for business anymore. And my role changed from being able to help suppliers around the globe to working on more localized projects. And it just wasn't quite the same work that I was used to. I wasn't enjoying it as much, so I decided to make a change. Not to mention, I think COVID pandemic has helped people to reprioritize what's important to them in life and reevaluate where they want to go. So Lilium for me was a chance to move to Europe, which is something I've wanted to do for quite some time, and stay in the aviation industry, in an industry that was struggling massively because of COVID, yet it was a safe place to go where we're still able to work towards new goals.
Mm-hmm.
I came to Lilium and they helped me fully with the visa process and gave me financial help to move over. They do have a relocation assistance program and found myself here after a few months.
What I find very interesting is this, that you were able to come to Germany and work in Germany during the pandemic, when officially the borders are all closed. But of course, if you have a good reason why you need to move to Europe, there are still exceptions. How long did it took you to obtain the visa that allowed you to come?
For me, it was only about 2 months that I got the visa. I will say I was sort of an exception to what the normal time frame has been lately, but I hired a relocation agent who was able to call the authorities and try to help speed along the process. For coming to Germany, I needed to have a job contract before I was able to enter the country during the COVID time. So as soon as Lilium hired me and I had a contract in place, I came to Germany and then began working on the visa process right away.
Oh, and it's awesome. This work with the relocation agent, was this a good experience for you? Or?
Yes, it was. At first, I was reluctant because Lilium offers a couple different relocation agents' names, assistants, and obviously it's a paid service. So at first, me being a world traveler said, I can do this on my own. It will be fine. But then I realized that in Germany, being able to speak German is definitely an advantage when it comes to anything political or bureaucratic or any of those processes. So having somebody on my side that spoke German actually was a great help to me, and it got me through a few of the difficult things for relocation. And then I could start over on my own and begin learning the language.
Yeah, that's. I'm very glad that you had such a good experience. For us Germans ourselves, to deal with the bureaucracy is always a nightmare, because half of the time we don't understand what they want, and the other half of the time they don't understand what they want.
Yeah.
I can tell you from 30 years of experience, you cannot ever believe something they tell you. You have to double check everything.
Yes, and everything is on at least a few different forms of paper.
Exactly. Yes.
Even in 2021.
And it's literally paper, it's not like you can do this online also.
Right, exactly.
Great. So now we know a little bit about Lilium's mission. We know what kind of people they're looking for. They're looking people who are experienced in what they do and have this entrepreneurial spirit, who make decisions and move forward. And we know they're willing to hire internationally. They work in English. They help with the visa when necessary. Let's talk about maybe two of the current positions that Lilium is hiring for. And there are many more. If you go to Lilium's website, you will find lots of open positions in different professions. But let's talk about two of them specifically today. Which ones did you bring us, Dube?
Two that I wanted to highlight. First of all, the first one, manufacturing engineering manager for the energy system. This is somebody that would have experience in electrical or electronic manufacturing background and lithium ion battery manufacturing specifically would be a huge advantage, but it could also be somebody that's come from the automotive industry with experience with a focus on powertrain assembly. Other skills that they would need to stand out were their ability to bring cross-functional teams together and experience with feasibility studies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you would have hired this person and this person is already working for Lilium for like 6 months, what would you expect them to have achieved in this time? That's terrible English, but I think you get the point.
We're looking for somebody in that role that would help us to develop design solutions. They're capable of enabling the ramp up that we need to achieve to support our business model that will satisfy weight limit requirements.
Mm-hmm.
We have to move very quickly in this field. We need somebody that can help us get our design to a mature place quickly.
Mm-hmm. And why is this speed so important?
What we are setting out to do is to have a certified product by 2024 and then go into expanding our market globally quickly. And that means we go from having only a couple of planes to having planes all over the world in a very short time. So the ramp up that we're going to face is something significant, something unlike anything I've experienced in the aviation industry before, and something where the volumes are almost unheard of because of the number of engines in our plane. First of all, 36 engines in a plane rather than a few engines in planes, and also with the battery cells that we build, the volumes even to create small aircrafts are huge. Sure.
Okay, and the second position?
The second position is the manufacturing engineer for the propulsion system. It would be nice to have someone from a conventional aircraft background if possible, but mechatronic assembly experience in either aviation or automotive fields is desirable. High volume automotive gearbox or machine component assembly experience would be acceptable as well.
Mm-hmm. And what is the most important goal that person needs to achieve, or what is the first challenge they need to solve in order to make themselves valuable to Lilium in the first, say, 6 months?
I would say that is very similar to the role I've highlighted before. In both roles, the goal will be to satisfy weight limit and manufacturing requirements to support a mass production ramp up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there something about these two positions that I haven't asked you, but that is important to know for people who want to apply for this position?
What I would say is that while we have many open positions in Lilium in general, these positions specifically are looking for people that have experience, that are able to hit the ground running. While we love to mentor people and bring them along, and we have that ability in certain places, there are some areas where we really need people to just jump in and have an impact immediately. People that are not going to be afraid to tell us when we're doing something that doesn't make sense or that could be better. People that see our problems, point them out to us, but also come with solutions and have an impact from day one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand. I think for more details on the different positions, when you listen to this, dear listener, best is to go to Lilium's website at lilium.com and check the positions and the requirements and skills and then apply. What I always like to do when I talk to people from the companies is to get a little peek behind the scene to understand how the application process works and what applicants, candidates can do to make it easier for the employer to evaluate them. So when you think about your own process, when you applied for Lilium, when you got on board, can you tell us a little bit about how this works? Like, where shall I apply? What kind of documents should I send right from the start? How many rounds of interviews did you experience? This kind of things.
Okay, so I would say first go to lilium.com to do your applications, or all the positions are also located on LinkedIn, and you can click the application button through LinkedIn to apply there. Cover letters are extremely meaningful and can be impactful because they give us a chance to have almost a bit of an audition of yourself when you apply. A cover letter that would be very helpful is one that highlights exactly what makes you unique and what you're bringing to the table that separates you from the competition in a concise way. Rather than spending a bunch of time talking about how excited you are about Lilium's mission and how you want to change the world, those things we all want. And we know that if you're the person applying to Lilium, you're probably that kind of person. But we really need to know in your background, in your personal makeup, your personal why, what are the things that make you different and what make you stand out. So I would use your cover letter as a chance to highlight those things and do a small addition. And then in the CV, it would be excellent to also highlight the experience that's relevant to your role by putting focus on that, and attaching any qualifications or trainings that are relevant as well right through the application process rather than waiting until later. We'll be able to see what you can bring or what you have right from your CV from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. This is also why I do this kind of interviews with employers. So did you get a better idea which of the many things you have to do in any positions are actually moving the needle for the employer? Like, for example, Dube just told us that you need to be able to get results fast because they have a very ambitious plan to ramp production. So if you know this because you listened to this interview, then that's something that you can address in your cover letter, and you can share experiences where you solved a new challenge very fast, where you got production ramped up very fast. And you can tell how you actually did this. And this is one way to set you apart.
Exactly, Chris. If you have high volume experience, it's something very useful to mention in your cover letter or highlight where those times were in your career through your CV to help us narrow it down quickly and see your value clearly. If that gets through to us and we're able to see that and you move on to the interview rounds, what you can expect is to go through several different rounds with the company. We value not only having the hiring manager be part of the interview process, but also a cross-functional group of people that you'll be working with from different roles, different backgrounds, because it's extremely important that you can work well with the team.
Mm-hmm. So you'll have to may I jump in there for a second? Sure. You said there are several rounds of interviews. Do you remember in your case how many rounds were there?
There was 3 rounds for me. Mm-hmm. For some of the more technical roles, there are additional rounds that are more kind of a technical mm-hmm. skill test.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how does this usually, the first interview probably is a screening interview with HR, I assume?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then how does it move forward from there?
And your second interview will be with the hiring manager for that position. And then if you get through that interview, the next one will be with a panel. That's like a cross-functional group of peers that will interview you on everything from HR and cultural questions to technical questions, and then more specific questions about the role itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And usually when you make it into this final round of interviews, what is the usual expectation? How long does it usually take before people hear back with a decision either way?
I would say that does vary because sometimes it's dependent on how many people are being interviewed for the role. But in general, we try to get back quite quickly so that even if you're somebody we've decided isn't exactly right for that role, but we want to consider you for others, you at least know this. So we try to do it as quickly as possible. And we are continuously trying to improve our hiring process by cutting down the lead time of bringing in new people, because not only does it help us secure talent, but it also helps the poor person on the other end that's sitting there waiting for an answer. I remember what it's like to be that person. So we are committed to trying to cut down that time and working on projects in that regard as we speak.
Yeah, I can empathize with this. I remember one of my coaching clients, he had his final interview, and then they told him, we will have a phone call on Monday. And he was super nervous because he had sent 500 applications before he met me and never got an interview. And then with me, within 2 months, he got into the final round of an interview with that particular company. And he was super nervous. So he asked the HR person, is it good news or is it bad news? To which he only replied, any news is good news. So he was all weekend long. He was on the edge of his seat, but of course, in the end, he got the job, Yes. So it's good to give fast feedback. Even bad feedback should be given fast.
I absolutely agree. And I know for myself, any of the positions that I've hired for, I've made sure to give this feedback within a couple of weeks at most.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, because this situation just happened to one of my clients a short while ago who was relatively new to the job hunt. He so far had only 1-2 positions. And he asked, are employers willing to wait when you need a visa? Like in your case, it also took 2 months before a visa could be processed. Is this something that would turn Lilium off, or would it be like the last criterion when everything else is equal?
I wouldn't say it'd be the last criteria. It's definitely a consideration, but Lilium is also quite reasonable in understanding that not only is the visa process long on a regular day, during COVID times, it's quite a bit longer than it would have been. And we've had several people that took months to come in before they were able to work between travel restrictions and visa process. So if the right candidate comes along, I'm sure we'll be willing to work with them and overcome those issues. Obviously, if we have 2 equal candidates and one of them can start tomorrow and the next one's going to be 6 months away, then it might become a consideration, but talent should be definitely first.
Dube Pender from Lilium, thank you so much for your time and giving us a look inside Lilium as a company. And hopefully many of you are encouraged to check out their job offers at lilium.com. My last question that I always like to ask, so I make sure I don't leave out anything important. What is one question that you wished I would have asked you and I didn't?
Not so much a question, but just a comment I want to make about the talent at Lilium and the female population. We would really like to increase that percentage and further benefit from the dynamic having the diverse mindset brings. We have several women at Lilium, but we're looking to increase that number, especially in technical roles. So please understand that we're an equal opportunity type employer. We value having that diversity, so don't be afraid to give it a try and come join us.
Great final words. Dube, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
That's for today. If you like this interview and if you want to get more insights into companies that hire international professionals in English, then I invite you to subscribe to my newsletter at immigrantspirit.com/newsletter. That's immigrantspirit.com/newsletter. And if you want to write cover letters that are powerful and understand how to talk to employers, especially here in Europe, in Germany, in a way that they can't resist but to invite you for a job interview, then maybe you go to Amazon and you check out my book, How to Win Jobs and Influence Germans. My name is Chris Piak. I'm your host in the Immigrant Spirit podcast. Stay tuned.